Hello?
Hey.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, great. Real fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this interview to be able to help the new album, A Year with No Summer, from Obsidian Kingdom, that just came out in the beginning of the month. And I just gotta say, again, just like the very first album, Mantis, I really love this album. I love the diversity of your guys' sound. You guys aren't afraid to hit any territory that you guys feel should be represented and works for the music, and you guys have knocked it out of the park once again.
Well, thank you very much. Well, you know, there were huge expectations for this album because Mantis had quite some success. So the feedback we're getting so far is that people is not feeling disappointed at all, even though the expectations were quite high. So thanks for confirming. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be able to do it too, because when I discovered Mantis, I just was able to discover it right around the time that I started my radio show. And I played you guys back then, and I'm very glad to be able to help with the promotion of this album as well, because it absolutely deserves all the promotion it can get.
We appreciate that very much, and you know, as an up-and-coming young band, we really depend on people loving what we do and spreading the word, so thanks again.
Oh, absolutely, no problem. So, of course, you said that there was a high expectation with the new album because there was so much love for Mantis. How did you guys go into the writing process for the new album?
I think that the very first thing we agreed on was to you know, clean the slate blank again, just to avoid the risk of doing Mantis 2, because that's not at all. Even though it's the only reference that the audience has about us, that's not the way we roll. We like to keep getting out of our own comfort zone so that we can produce the same thrill and the same excitement again. So I think that was like the basis for it all. Then there was another thing that we focused on very intensely, which was introducing electronics in perhaps more specific way. Like in A Year with No Summer, there's actual beats. It's not just the synthesizers. And I think all in all, there's a much more electronic approach, because these days we mostly listen to electronic music, and it felt kind of weird that we were playing rock and roll. And still, we love playing rock and roll, but we wanted to take that step. And I think it's been too subtle, so we may keep going in that direction, but who knows? And, well, I don't know. There was many things that had changed in us as individuals, so we wanted to reflect that, and therefore I think this album is much more colorful and poppier, but at the same time I think it's darker and more cruel. Maybe the horror in Mantis was more tongue-in-cheek, whereas in this one, in A Year with No Summer, it feels plausible, it feels real.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say that. I definitely noticed that lyrically, it does feel like a more darker album, even with the music being a little more diverse and a little more poppier and electronic, like you mentioned, compared to Mantis. But yeah, it does have that overall darkness that the first album really had.
Yeah, I think maybe this time we didn't want a narrative, and Mantis had one, and that was like an aesthetic drawback, because we depended on the story that we wanted to tell. But this time I think we were more honest about the way we're feeling about ourselves and the world, and in that sense it almost feels like A Year with No Summer is making a social comment, which is not. But I think we've grown more mature as entertainers and storytellers, and that shows. However, that means that maybe we've made work that's more dense, and therefore it needs some time to sink in. It is not as bombastic as Mantis was from our perspective.
And it's funny that you say that too, because with Mantis, at least in my opinion, I'm able to go listen to any track on random and it still feels very complete, even though it's a concept album. Whereas with A Year with No Summer, it almost feels like it's a concept album because each song feels like it does flow into each other, and I love being able to listen to it from beginning to end because it does feel like such a complete piece.
That's super contradictory, but you're absolutely right. I mean, Mantis was a single song, so theoretically you would not be able to take one song out and understand it because it was just a part of the whole. But exactly the contrary happens. When you take a song out of A Year with No Summer, it feels more decontextualized than any song in Mantis, however much we tried for them to be independent. But I guess we're just a concept band, aren't we? I mean, we are running from tags and pigeonholes all the time, but maybe that's something that's gonna stay. We love the album as something more than just a collection of songs, so we take a lot of time to, brood on the whole idea and how we're gonna portray it, not only in terms of music, but also, design, visual, aesthetic. It all goes in a pack, and that depends on the aura, on the atmosphere of the whole thing. So we wouldn't be able to just pick some songs that work together and put an album, because I don't know, I think that's poor.
No, I definitely think that you guys have done it right this time, because just with all 7 songs that are on the album, it sounds like just a complete force that's going on, and again with the diversity as well, because there are some moments where it does get very dark musically, and then there's some moments that are the polar opposite as well on the album, but it does keep the same kind of motivation to be able to hear the whole thing and see how everything goes with it.
Yeah, that was some license that we could abuse in Mantis, because the songs were so short that you could have some very extreme piece and then another one which was very soothing, because it was meant to be listened to one after the other. But here I think we tried with not much success to condense all the diversity into every song, so they should be more contrasted in themselves. But I guess you're right. I mean, for example, the Polyarnic has nothing to do with the end in the Kandinsky group, and in that sense, if you just listen to the Polyarnic, you would get a very wrong idea about what the band is about. But I guess we were just over creative that way. Like we wouldn't know when to stop, and we want to explore so much. So maybe that's the main reason behind us making concept albums one after the other. Although I don't know whether the next one's gonna be a concept album too, but I think it's gonna be.
Oh, that'd be very cool to see, as long as you guys are able to keep everything fresh and you never feel like you have to make an album for the audience, as long as it's an album that everyone in the band feels fully behind, that's the kind of album I hope that you guys are able to make off. If that's a concept album, that's going to be fantastic. If it's more along the lines of the new album, that is going to be fantastic as well, as long as it feels fresh and pure to you guys.
Yeah, well, we do care about what the audience is going to think, but just in terms of keeping everyone's attention, it's not that we're trying to please anybody, but of course, maybe we wouldn't venture into something that would be dull or felt boring just because it felt right as an abstract idea, because at the end of the day, our art is about entertaining as well. But I know what you mean what you were saying? So great. That means we have even more expectations for the next one, which is no pressure at all, of course.
Well, I mean, of course, as long as you guys are just happy about the music that you're playing and it doesn't have to feel contrived in any way.
Yeah, but we keep finding that out, and as you probably know, our lineup has changed a little bit. And
sure.
That means that, with new people coming in the band, there's new ideas flowing in as well. And so you never know what's going to appeal to the rest of the members. And in that sense, it feels like a constant battle to find a middle ground between all the impulses going on between the 5 individuals that form the band.
Was there any of that during the recording of this album?
Well, actually, yes. This album, A Year with No Summer, we started writing it right after we finished Mantis with the former lineup, which means that the people who recorded it were not necessarily the people that wrote it, which meant some difficulty because, everybody writes its own lines to fit everyone's personal technique and approach to interpretation. So some had to be rewritten, some had to be rethought, and furthermore, when we ended the recording, we had more changes in the lineup, which means that the people that's playing the album, it's not necessarily the people that recorded it, which in turn is not the people who wrote it. So it's kind of different from what is normally expected from rock and roll bands, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously that does happen in a band where sometimes the band just goes in a direction where a member doesn't feel like they can feel the creative way that they want to, and sometimes they're able to bring in members where if that never did happen, they never knew that the band could become stronger with new members and bring in new influences as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, and we love it, but it's kind of hard because the band is working at a rate that it implies that the new member is going to perform as good as the band needs it to. And at the end of the day, territory matters because we rehearse a lot, so we depend on the creative people in our immediate environment, which means the resources are limited. So we sometimes have to make do with strange circumstances. For example, our current keyboard player recorded the guitars in A Year with No Summer, but he is not a guitar player. He used to play drums. He learned how to play the guitar just to record an album, and after it was done, he had to learn how to play keyboards. Well, obviously not everybody is able to do that, but I think it shows some of the philosophy of the band, which would be something like talent before experience, or curiosity before baggage.
And I also think that shows a lot of great dedication that comes with the band too, being able to learn a brand new instrument to be able to get the sounds that the band is looking for as well. And I think that could definitely help out in the future as well, because when you're just playing one instrument and during the recording of a band you learn a new instrument, they'll be able to get some more creativity flowing for the next time around that the recording process happens.
Of course, and that makes everyone more fit to understand the whole song before it happens. Like, normally people understand their instruments and play their part, and sometimes they have no idea of the bigger picture. Every band has its method, but it's very useful, for us that the keyboard player would be able to suggest drum fill, for example, and even write his keyboard lines to that, or having that in mind. So yeah, the more you know, the better. And I think that happens as well, not only with the music, but with the rest of the arts as well. Like, if you're very good in architecture, you'll probably write better song structures. Or, I don't know, if you're very good communicating, or very charismatic, you'll probably help with the community management, and so on. Because in our case, and I think in most cases with independent bands these days, you have to be able to do what used to be done by the music industry, by the labels, by the press. You have to build your own small company if you want to succeed, because, well, you know the drill. Nobody's buying records anymore, and so labels are no longer investing in new bands. So you have to show off your talent, which you have to build for yourself, because there's, nobody behind you to help you build a light show, or to get a cover in a magazine. Well, at least in our case, we've had to find out for ourselves, which is real cool. I mean, we really appreciate knowing how to do those things.
I think it's very important as a band, because it also shows to the label, in case you are ever to make that much of an impact on a label that might be interested in you, that you're willing to do all of this as a band, being able to take care of promotion or merch or setting up touring or all of the other stuff that usually a label and PR would be behind. It shows that you have that dedication to make the band as big as possible.
Well, the way we see it, that's absolutely necessary. I mean, you're not gonna make it if you're not 120% into what you're doing. It's just not gonna be enough. I mean, it's very, very hard to make a living as a musician these days. And if you're making the music that you like doing, more even so. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't work in any other way. And actually, we don't know anybody that's become a renowned musician that's not had to sacrifice a whole lot during the process. So we're taking it as the way it is, I guess.
So with you guys having joined with Season of Mist back in 2014, has that helped out at all with the load of getting everything together as a band, or do you still feel that need and drive to be able to take care of as much as you can by yourselves?
It obviously helps, but maybe not directly. I mean, it's not that they're doing a good job, of course, but I think mainly what they're doing for us is backing us with their name and their profile. Because if someone is big and as important as Season of Mist is interested in us, oh well, to some listeners that's engaging. That's a door for them to know about what we're doing. But we still have to do most of the work, of course. I mean, even distribution, we have our own online store, so it's kind of an association. It's like they're helping out with some part of the business, because then again, the label does not take care of the booking, which is a very important side for the business these days. Of course, we have a booking agent and so, but I'd say it's still a necessary step for a band to go into a label, at least at the very beginning, so that it gets noticed enough with that credit given by someone that's been in the industry and the tradition for probably longer than they have.
So with that said, with Season of Mist being able to help out with promotion, have you noticed a rise in the band's popularity since being able to join up with Season of Mist?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not super noticeable, but for example, when we released Mantis, it took a lot of time for the media to notice, which gave it an incredibly long lifespan on the other hand, because as people started noticing it, they kept delaying the death of the album, which turned out to be a great thing. But this time, it's gone by the book, which means that journalists get the album before it's released, you get some reviews, you get some press and stuff, and that's something that we're not used to, or that we were not used to until now. So yeah, in that sense, of course, they're helping us grow our audience.
Well, that's great to see too, because again, just being from a fan that found you guys organically through my radio show, being able to see that you guys are getting bigger and more popular with just these 2 albums alone, it's a fantastic thing to see that you guys are keeping the vision that you want to and being able to keep going the way that you are.
Yeah, that's a must. I mean, on the other hand, again, we've always heard about these stories of bands going into labels and being told what to do, but it has never been thus for us. I mean, we've always retained artistic freedom, and we will keep artistic freedom at all times, because, you know, if you're not doing it from the heart, and if you're not telling what you really want to tell, then you need to make a lot of money for for it to be worth it, I think.
Yeah, unless you just have the intention of just being a studio band and you just want to do it as a side project when you have time from work, then you can be as artistic as you want to. But then once you start getting people invested in you, you get labels invested in you, and everything that comes along with being a marketable band, then there's a lot of things that might be able to compromise your artistic vision. But I'm glad to see that hasn't happened to you guys.
No, and hopefully it will not happen ever. But I think that something special happens when you choose to dedicate your whole life to something like this, and when you become involved to that point into your work of art, you reach a kind of intimacy with it that I think would be impossible if you just were doing it in your free time, you know, for fun. There are very few examples that prove me wrong, but I think in most of the cases you need to take that step, at least for a certain period in your life, to just do that thing. I mean, the way we see it, just producing a record takes such an amount of thinking that I just wouldn't be able to imagine myself doing anything else at the same time. So, well, yeah, luckily we are at this point where we can dedicate all our attention and effort to this, but it's always a great risk. But our hopes are very high, of course.
And of course, to me, it is showing to be paying off, and just being able to hear that, it makes me very happy that you are able to keep the artistic vision of what you want to do and not compromising that. And it's making you guys bigger as well, because a lot of times there are labels that want to tell you what to do, and then it'll make you bigger, but you don't feel happy about making that kind of music. And again, it's great to see that you guys are keeping what you want to do, and you're able to achieve what you want to as well.
I think that's the main risk, and also the main reward of pioneering. I'm not saying that, you know, we are discovering anything, but for sure we at least we intend to not remain at any certain place for too long, because things tend to stagnate, and they normally get boring. So I think we're willing to take that risk in that sense. Also because we're tired of you know, just watching scenes being built around a single good idea and just copycatting one and after the other. There's no point in that. And, you know, other people like David Bowie, for example, have proven that you can reinvent yourself all your life, even after dying. So if he could do it, we're going to at least try to.
And that's another great thing that I love about you guys, because when I first found you guys from Mantis, I was not able to compare you to anything else. I mean, I heard elements of different genres and instrument use, but I'm never able to say that you sound like Band A or Band B. You guys have your own distinct sound, and that's what always draws me to a new band.
Thanks a lot. I think that's one of the greatest compliments you could have given us. I think every band and every artist strives to be unique and to do things in a way that only he or them know how to. And if you think we are achieving that, or at least we're going in that direction, we feel very flattered. I think that A Year with No Summer is braver in the sense that Mantis featured lots of styles. So you would not be able to tell what the band was about without listening to all of them, but in the end, maybe you could reduce every part to a style. Like, this song sounds a little bit more folk, this one sounds a little bit more black metal, and this one is more ambient drone. But in A Year with No Summer, I think we've managed to merge all of that and start to generate a personal sound instead of a personal style. I think that's going a step further. And, well, the best thing of all would be to have our own language, but, step by step, that's too much right now, but we're working on it.
Oh, very cool. So with that said, has there been anything inspired for the next album yet, or are you just still very focused on A Year with No Summer?
No, we're starting to get some ideas about what we want the next album to sound like, and one of the main things that's been brought to the table so far is that we really like the way that A Year with No Summer feels so ethereal and oversaturated, but that haze is kind of numbing, so maybe we would like to dissipate it and make something with more muscle. And like I said before, I think we fell short of adding electronics into this one. We're happy about it, but I think we would like to keep exploring the possibility of using pre-recorded sounds both in the studio production and live. Beats and samples and synthesizers are a field that we haven't explored too much yet, so there's a good adventure in that way, I think.
Well, I did notice that you did release a remix album a couple years back. Would there be any chance of doing any remixes for the new album as well?
We just got asked that the other day, and that got me seriously thinking about it. I think that if we did another remix album, that would be like repeating the formula, and it would feel to a certain extent like we were doing a Mantis Part 2, which we were avoiding at any cost. But maybe we could, do something about it, like bluegrass versions of it, or I like the idea of thrashing your own work, and in that sense, Torn and Burned was exactly that, like setting fire to Mantis's corpse, and it was delightful. We had great fun about it. But if we're going to do it again, I'm not sure we're going to go for the remix formula. Besides, Trent Reznor did that a long time ago, much better than we would ever be able to do so.
Well, I really do like the idea of what you kind of hinted at about maybe incorporating a completely different style into the music of A Year with No Summer, like hitting in a bluegrass route or completely all black metal, or just hitting some kind of new style to give it a new kind of life like you did. I think that could be a lot of cool ideas that might come through into where Obsidian Kingdom might go in the future.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we probably will. I think that's what actually happened between Mantis and A Year with No Summer. We started listening to things very different from what we had heard to that day, just Johnny Cash, Prince, Chelsea Wolfe, Andy Stott, death grips, something that don't have to do at all with metal, and you don't have to copy them, but you're gonna get some very good ideas, and again, that puts you in touch with some styles that you're probably not familiar with, such as, hip-hop or spoken word.
Yeah, and that's the great thing that comes of it too, because the more that you open your mind to other forms of music, the more creativity that can come through.
Yeah, we totally agree. But then you have to have a good taste to bring it all together naturally. It's very easy, I think, to fall into total eclecticism, and it does not always work. I mean, you have to have some personal signature that binds all that material together. I think that's what we're working with. We're like the glue that makes all those different pieces combine into an interesting artifact.
Yeah, and again, I definitely think it's working out for you guys. I know as a fan, being able to represent everything that you want to in a band, it's really coming through, and it's made for an amazing album with A Year with No Summer.
Thanks a lot, Josh. We're really happy to hear that. I mean, the feedback is being quite amazing, but still, same as happened with Mantis, we put out this record knowing that it might be a complete disaster, and that people would not understand the joke, which of course would be okay for us as artists, but we also need support if we want for this project to be sustainable, and that's the reason we're so grateful to you about.
As someone who runs a radio show and being able to be in a very fortunate state where I can promote the bands that I truly do care about, it means a lot being able to hear that my love for the band is showing through in you guys as well. That does mean a lot to me.
Well, you can't believe it. I mean, it's completely true, and I'm saying it from my heart. I mean, you can pay for huge advertising campaigns, but at the end of the day, the thing really works is a friend or somebody you trust telling you what they really like, and I think that's what you are doing precisely.
Well, absolutely. That was my whole reason for starting up the radio show like I have, is being able to promote the bands that I love that I'm not seeing get as much recognition as other forms of music. I love being able to have this opportunity to promote bands that deserve just as much attention as anyone else, and I feel like if I can have my voice out there, that I can help out, even if it's in a big way or a small way, just being able to help bring the bands that deserve that attention that much attention.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're totally for it. We too do it. Like, we are all the time promoting the music we like because we feel it needs to be done. If there weren't, intelligent, independent, opinionated individuals, then everything would be in the hands of the mass media, and we would be listening to Adele or Justin Bieber all day. But don't take me wrong, I mean, I think they're great artists and they have great songs going on, but...
Well, yeah, it's just good for variety. That way you're just not listening to the same thing. It's always good to have an open mind, even with more mainstream global artists. There are different forms that are out there that don't sound the same, and it's always good to have that kind of creativity in there. That way, music of the future won't sound exactly the same as it does right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also, I think that the way technology is going, people is growing increasingly more comfortable and less curious, so they need to be stimulated. They need to have second opinions about things. They need to... I think that, the media is giving power to the people, but not many is using it to properly talk about what they're feeling. So everything is going gray and dull, which I think is what A Year with No Summer talks about at some point. And then there's this points of light, of people believing and being passionate about what they're doing, that kind of lead the way in this
Yeah, it's definitely a great way to put it too, because not everything is getting represented in a way that it deserves. Some things deserve a lot more light than what the media is presenting to, whether it's in a political stand or in a musical stand. Just being able to get all the information out there and all the different ideas that are out there as well, getting that kind of promotion out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are wise ways to use all that infrastructure, but the natural thing to do is just go with the flow and let yourself be overflooded with all the stimuli that are coming from people that ultimately want to sell something to you. And that if that's going to be the goal of it all, then well, civilization is going to collapse. I think that's actually happening, isn't it?
Being from America definitely feels like that right now, especially here.
Yeah, well, everybody is like with their eyes on what's happening in America. Naturally, I mean, everybody's following the presidential candidacy, and well, you know, Trump has become one of the great icons of our times in that sense. So, yeah, I guess it must be turbulent to be there right now, because, you know, watching it here in the news, it's not the same thing as seeing people actually supporting one or the other candidate. I'm not saying that the rest are not as horrible as this one seems to be. I don't know what you're voting. No, what you're voting. No offense, but then again, you know, we're having bombs in airports here like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it seems like everything's going into this sense of emergency and imminent catastrophe that we're all in, which naturally stresses and urges us to consume.
Yes, and again, like, I'm not sure how it is overseas as it is here. I just imagine that when you look at our political fiasco that's going on right now, I imagine that people either find it very comical, what's going on right now with Donald Trump being a potential leader of this world, or people are getting extremely scared about what could possibly happen. I'm of the latter in my political view. I'm kind of scared that he might be able to become ruler of this country, and I'm really scared to see what would happen with that, considering everything else that's going on in the world right now, because there's already enough chaos, and I want the United States to bring as little chaos, if no chaos, if possible.
That's very wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll certainly see. I mean, I think there's reasons to be scared, but to me it seems so absurd that the natural way of escaping is thinking that all of this is a farce, and that it doesn't matter what people think or vote, because it is just so convenient for humanity and for globalization to have a right-wing government everywhere right now. And of course, you know, the bomb attacks are no casual in that sense. I'm not going full conspiranoid right now or anything, but hearing some speeches, it just makes no sense. It feels absolutely surreal. So, well, I don't know, you probably must know some people that think like that, and of course here are people that think like that too, but the scary thing is that they seem to be a majority. And then again, there's this historic arch that goes a century back with, you know, some crazy guy saying that well, foreigners should be, you know, kept outside and in certain places. Well, everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, and that's what's really scary to me, and especially since the United States has that notion of being the leaders of the free world, being able to have a front runner for the highest political office in the United States saying that we need to ban certain religious groups or banish certain people of a certain race from entering this country. That is completely and utterly absurd to me.
Yeah, it feels the same way here too. And furthermore, we live in Spain, which has been a multicultural country because it's been subject to so many invasions and different regimes. So we're very used to the cultural and the racial mix. Well, I think this in the States you are too right now, but I don't know. I mean, it just looks like things are getting out of control, and of course there's no easy solution because all the problems that we're experiencing today have been concocting for lots of years, decades. So this is just the consequence of maybe mismanagement for the past 50 days. And I don't really know what we're going to do or what's going to happen. And a lot of that anxiety I put into the record I participated in. And well, that's so appropriate because we're talking about it. I mean, we've made the record an excuse to reflect about life and what's happening right now, and that makes me very happy.
And I think that's why I'm so attracted to the new album too, because upon the first listen, I was able to grasp that as well, because I have a lot of the same notions that are shown throughout the album about how the world is going right now, and it is becoming more of a frightening place all around the world, not just in America, not just over in Spain, but everywhere around the world. It's becoming more and more frightening. And with that said, I really hope that the third album won't be this completely chaotic noise album to represent the world becoming into a nuclear holocaust and trying to represent the sound of what's going on.
Well, I don't know if we'll be able to put out another record if it's going to be a nuclear holocaust anytime soon. Yeah, we probably will. Yeah, it kind of feels like a year with no summer, doesn't it? It's like things have been changing around us in a subtle way, and we're not realizing it until it's September and you have not been able to go to the beach, and then you notice something's wrong, and it's not that unbearable though. It's just so tense and so convulsed, and I think that we come from a generation that's had a lot of commodities, and in that sense the summer that we remember as children probably was a much more brighter one than the one we're picturing for our own children or even ourselves. And it's that darkening of the atmosphere that I'm so interested about, and what brings together, the weather concept between a year with no summer and things just going straight into hell.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I mean, you touched on it great for me, because when you're younger, you don't have to worry so much about everything that's going on in the world. You just have to worry about yourself because you're still trying to figure everything out. So when the summer comes, it feels a lot brighter than when you become a full-size adult and then you see everything in your personal lives, you see everything that's going on around the world. Everything does become that much darker. And especially in 2016, it doesn't feel like we are going to have that summer feeling in our lives anytime soon.
Yeah, I think we were toying around with that sense of nostalgia, and it becomes literal sometimes. I mean, it's kind of an inner joke, but of course we've had to work throughout the whole summer in order to be able to pay for the production of the album. So I mean, at the very least, you're not gonna get 3 months holiday like ever, and that was a normal thing to do back then, to just enjoy life. But it's like you're no longer allowed to. You have responsibilities. And that that passage to adulthood that we're experiencing now, it's kind of stressful to add to the international political situation, of course.
Oh, well,
Yeah, sorry.
no. It's just it just brings even more of that meaning behind A Year with No Summer. Just being able to reflect on all of that, and again, just like trying to bring it back into the musical aspect of it, not so much the lyrical. Just being able to have those visions of my head about nostalgia and what's going on currently right now. It does bring a whole lot more of a personal meaning behind the album, and I think once people get to check that out, I think the album would mean a whole lot more to them that way.
Thanks a lot. That was our intention from the start. I mean, we didn't want to provide the audience with a finished picture. We wanted to give you a blank canvas, maybe with some sketch on it, so that you could finish it yourself. So we were talking about symbols that were familiar to everybody, such as those topics that have been brought to the table. And I also think that it's very important that this conversation we're having right now takes place, because it offers the opportunity to expand the meaning of the work. I think that to a certain extent the album is just a part of that work. And of course, if you, and I sincerely hope you will, get the chance to watch our live show, you will get different stimulation that will probably add or contaminate the way you are understanding the album right now. And the same goes for the music videos, the teasers, the design of flyers, that kind of thing. And to me, it's the same thing that I was talking about before. Music has become secondary to having a rock band. I envision it more as an artistic initiative that's more complete than music.
Yeah, that's just a definitely great way to go about it. And getting into the live aspect of the band, I hope at some point, whether I make the journey over to Europe to see you, or if you ever get the gracious opportunity to hit America, I would love to be able to see you guys and hear these songs in the proper live setting, not a cell phone bootleg on YouTube or anything like that. Being able to experience it in person to get that real imagination of what you guys are trying to bring into the live setting.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, if you ever come overseas, just drop us a line, because we'd love for you to attend one of our shows, and if we ever go there, we will of course tell you. But we are investing a lot in the live appearances. We work with, for example, in Mantis, we had a visual show with a video jockey, but back then we didn't have as much resources, so we almost ripped everything off YouTube or Artives or any free source we could find. But for A Year with No Summer, we've been filming and shooting our own visuals for 2 years now, and they were envisioned and developed at the same time as the music was. And many a time, some visual affected the music and backwards. And I think that's part of the A Year with No Summer experience, and I'm anxious to bring it to life. Actually, our first gig is going to be in a week time now, so we haven't even tried. We're also bringing all the RGB split glitchy aesthetic into life through a series of floor lighting that we've been working on and programming, because we're huge fans of theater and even the opera. So that's another part of our interest that we wanted to encompass with the project. So yeah, we're very excited about it, and I don't know, I hope it goes all right.
Yeah, it's definitely got the best of intentions with that too. I mean, it definitely sounds like, especially with a headlining show from you guys, you will be able to get that full live experience, audioly, visually, and hopefully the personal feeling as well, being able to capture everything that you want to accomplish live.
Yeah, that's true, and that's very rare, because for us as a young band, the usual scenario is playing support in big tours, just like the last one we did with the Icelandic band Solstafir, which means that you're gonna have very few stage time. Of course, you're not gonna bring your crew with you, and you're gonna, be using the gear from other people. You're gonna have little control over what's happening, and it's a different game to play. But when we're playing headlining, we want to offer a complete, full-bodied show, the best that we can imagine. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. We're going to do 3 shows over here, and let's see how it goes. I mean, hopefully the cycle of a year with no summer will end with us headlining a tour, and more hopefully still it will be in the US, but there's still a lot of work to do before.
Well, I'm definitely hoping for the best with that as well. I mean, with the shows that you have coming up in 2016, everything that might possibly happen in 2016, and if we still have a world, hopefully stuff in 2017 will be able to work out in favor.
Yeah, I'm wishing for that too.
Well, thank you once again for taking this amount of time to do this interview. It was a tremendous honor to be able to talk to you for this long and be so honest and truthful about everything regarding music and the world today. It was such a great experience being able to do this with you.
Well, thank you, Josh. I mean, it was truly my pleasure. I really enjoy having this kind of conversations, and this one was very, very interesting. So thank you. I hope we speak again in the future for sure. And in the meantime, keep enjoying the album, and please send our regards to everybody that listens to that drummer guy.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime that you got anything to promote, whether it's any kind of tour or any new material on the horizon, I would absolutely love to be able to talk to you and promote it as much as I can.
Thank you so much. It's very appreciated.
Before we're done, is there anything else that you'd like to bring up that I haven't brought yet?
Well, we've brought up plenty so far. So really, no, I'm absolutely satisfied. We've spoken about things that I wasn't imagining. So no, it's been great, really.